The first study was published in 2010, but it actually looked at data from 3 years prior to that. So I think we're up to 16 years
10 years.
of
Okay.
data now.
So how is the data evolved between those groups?
Yeah, so if you look at the performance differential in terms of total shareholder return between the customer experience leaders and the customer experience laggards, early on, it was about a 2x differential. So the shareholder return of the leaders, about twice that of the laggards. It then grew about 10 years into doing the study, it grew to about 3x. Then it was about 3.5x right before COVID. And now, with the most recent release of the study that was just published a couple of weeks ago, it's actually at its highest gap ever, 5.4x. So the leaders outperforming the laggards by 5.4, by a ratio of 5.4. So it's really expanded over time. I think that's interesting. I'm not suggesting that it might not contract in the future because it expands, it contracts a bit. But I do think what it perhaps illustrates is kind of the flywheel effect of great customer experiences. The notion that, once you get this working well and you get momentum and that flywheel starts to really spin, you become unstoppable to some degree, and it just sort of widens your lead relative to other players. One thing I would also mention, just because it's worth noting, this latest update to the study was the first one that incorporated data from during and after the pandemic. And so when you look at how we went from 3.4x to 5.4 in the span of a few years, this is pure theory on my part, but one thing that I do wonder is if there was a pandemic impact there, in the sense that some of the companies in the leaders category, their return, their outsized return, might have been amplified just by what was going on in the industry they were in. And specifically, I'm thinking about online retailers. So Amazon, as an example, which is a perennial leader in these ratings, online retailers did very well when COVID hit, given the nature of their business. So I do wonder if maybe the lead is expanded in part because of the dynamics around the pandemic. Conversely, if you look in the bottom 10, travel companies are some usual suspects in the bottom 10. And the travel industry, of course, was hit pretty hard due to the pandemic. So I feel like the problems of the laggards may have been exacerbated in the latest round of the study, given the dynamics of the pandemic, and some of the leaders' gains may have been amplified. And maybe that's one reason why we've seen this pretty significant expansion in the performance differential over the past few years.